Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera. In this part 2 video, we are going to continue lessons for chapter 10, leading the project team. As I mentioned in part 1 video, this chapter will focus on project leadership, right? And two important related components, which are ethics and development of the project team, right? Okay, in this video, we continue our lessons on chapter 10 with these objectives, right? Okay, we start with ethics and leadership. Basically, ethics is becoming an important trend in project management. Okay, ethics basically can be defined as a set of moral principles and values. Okay, ethical dilemmas arise when our personal values come into conflict. Right? Trevino and Nelson, in their study, define ethics as the principles, norms, and standards of conduct that guide individuals and groups. Culture can be defined as the shared beliefs, assumptions, and values that we learn from a society or a group that guides or influences our behavior. Okay, and a project manager is a leader who can create, maintain, or change the culture of the project organization. Okay, this quadrant shows ethics versus legality, right? uh, just to show that some decision, for example, legal and ethical, or illegal and unethical, are usually clear. Okay, but we often have to make decisions that fall in a gray area, which is not always clear. Okay, these types of decisions are more difficult because we may be torn by decisions or actions that may be legal but unethical, or illegal but ethical. So mostly legality and the ethicalness of certain actions are governed by society and culture. Okay. Okay. Socialization basically is a process where people who are brought into an organization learn its culture. Okay. This process can occur through formal means such as training and mentoring, or through less formal one, uh, such as interaction with supervisors and co-workers, right? So new people learn not only how to dress appropriately, but they also learn what behaviors are acceptable and unacceptable. Subsequently, socialization can encourage or discourage ethical behavior. Okay. Okay, this slide is about several categories of leadership. And the first one is unethical leadership. Unethical leaders are generally weak moral individuals and weak moral managers. Okay, you can read this example story of Al Dunlap, or his nickname Chainsaw Al. Okay. Okay, the second category is hypocritical leadership. Hypocritical leadership is possibly the worst type of leader because he or she extols the virtues or integrity and ethical conduct, but then engage in unethical behavior, encourages others to do so, reward bottom line results by any means, or fail to discipline any wrongdoings. Okay. uh, you can also read this example of a hypocritical leader story. It's about Reverend Jim Baker. Okay. Okay, next is the third category, which is ethically neutral leadership. A leader who is not strong or weak ethical leader, but does not provide clear ethical guidance because people do not know what the leader's ethical beliefs are, or whether the leaders cares. Okay. Also, you can read this example of Sandy Will, a chairman of the board and former CEO of Citicorp, right? Okay, fourth category is ethical leadership. An ethical leader is someone who makes it clear that bottom line results are important, but only if they can be achieved in an ethical manner, right? So, a research suggests that when a culture is viewed as being ethical, employees tend to engage in fewer unethical behaviors, are more committed to the organization, and more willing to report problems to management, right? Okay, now common ethical dilemmas. Okay, basically, there is no doubt that you will encounter ethical dilemmas when your values will be in conflict, right? So your career can be enhanced or be damaged depending on how you handle the situation. So there are common ethical situations that you might encounter. The first one is human resource situations. Okay, it is about project leaders should create a project environment where people feel safe and appreciated, so they do their best work. Okay, the issues that can lead to ethical situations includes discriminations, privacy, sexual or other types of harassment, as well as appraisals, discipline, hiring, firing, and layoffs. Okay, the key consideration should be fairness in terms of equity, uh, reciprocity, uh, and impartiality. Okay. Okay. Second situation is conflicts of interest. Okay, conflict of interest issues can include such things as overt or subtle bribes or kickbacks, as well as relationships that could question your impartiality. Right? So impartiality can come into question when personal and professional relationships overlap and a conflict of interest can occur. Okay, for example, could a gift or personal favor from a vendor or customer be viewed as having an influence on your judgment or a decision? Okay, so trust basically is a key factor in personal and business relationships, right? And conflicts of interest can weaken trust if special favors are extended to only a special few. Okay. Basically, many organizations now have policies that define situations that are and are not acceptable. Okay. Okay. The third situation is confidence. Relationships with project stakeholders require maintaining a strong sense of confidence with respect to such issues as confidentiality, product safety or reliability, truth in advertising, and special fiduciary responsibilities to the clients or other project stakeholders. Okay, so trust can erode when your fairness, honesty, or respect come into question. Okay, okay. The fourth situation is corporate resources. Okay, basically, as a project team member, you are considered an agent or representative of your organization, and your actions can be considered the action of your organization. Okay, so this may include your opinions or actions, especially if you use corporate resources such as stationery, business cards, an email address, phones, and etc. For your personal reason. Okay. Okay. Company resources should only be used for business unless the organization has a specific policy. Right. Okay, now we are going to learn a process for making sound ethical decisions, right? To deal with the ethical dilemmas that we learned in the previous slide. Okay, okay. These are the steps that can be applied to a number of ethical dilemmas that you may encounter in project. Okay, the first one is gather the facts. Okay, basically, you should begin by focusing on the historical facts that led to these situations. and then what has happened since. Okay, this can be difficult because the facts may not be that clear or readily available. However, you should also keep in mind that there are limitations if you do not have all the facts or information at hand. Okay, so the second step is define the ethical issue. Okay, this approach asking you to challenge yourself and others to see as many issues as you can, uh, so that you have a fuller understanding of the problem. Okay, this is because many people react impulsively to ethical dilemmas and jump to a conclusion without really understand the underlying issues. Okay, so the third one is identify the affected stakeholders. Okay, it is to identify those who will be affected by the decision, as well as any benefits or harm that will come to them. Okay, because for making a decision, it is important to see things through the eyes of affected stakeholders and then consider those who are more indirectly affected. Okay, okay. In a project case, of course, client is impacted directly, right? So what about the stakeholders? And also, how about the rest of your project team? Are they affected? Okay, and if you are consultant, how will your organization be affected? Okay, what about your family, your team's family, for example? So all this you have to identify before making a decision. Okay, the fourth one is identify the consequences. Okay, once you identify the affected stakeholders, the next step is to think about the potential consequences for each stakeholder. Okay, um, although it might be impossible to identify every consequence, but you can still get a good idea of whether the good of your decision or action outweighs the bad, right? So the next step is identify the obligations. After you have identified the consequences of your actions or decision, the next step involves is identifying the obligations you have to the affected stakeholders. Okay, it may help to think of obligations in terms of values, principles, characters, and outcomes. Okay, so the last step is consider your character and integrity. Okay, before making a decision, you must think carefully, right? Will your action or decision allow you to sleep restfully at night? Okay, and do you want people to say that you were a person of integrity or not? So all the answer is in your hands. Okay. Okay, this slide is about teamwork. Okay, from the book with title The Wisdom of Teams by Katzenberg and Smith, they define a team as a small number of people with complementary skills who are committed to a common purpose, performance goals, and approach for which they hold themselves mutually accountable. Right? And based on the books, they provided a distinction between several types of teams, which are work groups, real teams, and high performance. Okay, work group, it is based on the traditional approach where a single leader is in control, make most of the decisions, delegates to subordinate, and monitors the progress of the assigned tasks. Therefore, the performance of a work group depends greatly on the leader. Okay, the real teams, in cases where several individuals must produce a joint work product. So teams are a better idea. Okay, high performance teams, these are real teams that outperform all other teams and even the expectation given. Okay, this special type of team requires an extremely high level of commitment to other team members and cannot be managed. Okay, in a work group, Members interact to share information, best practices, or ideas. Okay. Although the members may be interested in each other's success, work groups that do not necessarily share the same performance goals. Okay, there is no joint work products uh, and no mutual accountability. And in work groups or single leader, groups are viable and useful in many situations. Okay. Okay, there are several team basics that defines a real team. Okay, the first one is a small number of people. Okay, ideally a project team must be between 2 to 12 people. Okay, although a large number of people can become a team, but a large team can become a problem in terms of logistic and communication. So, as a result, a large team should break into sub-teams rather than try to function as one large unit. Alright. Next is a complementary skill. Okay, for achieving the team's goal, a team must have or develop the right mix of skills that are complementary. Okay, this skill includes technical or functional expertise, right? Or problem solving or decision making skills, right? And the next one is interpersonal skills, which is a people skill. Okay. Next is committed to a common purpose. Okay, for creating a common team purpose, the team develops direction, momentum, and commitment to its work. And this inspires pride because people understand how their joint work product will impact the organization. Okay. So the fourth one is the common goals. Basically, it gives the team an identity that goes beyond the individuals involved. Okay. Next is common approach. A common work approach should focus not only on economic and administrative issues and challenge, but also on the social issues and challenges that will shape how the team works together. Okay. Last one is hold themselves accountable. Okay, a group can never become a team unless members hold themselves mutually accountable. So no team can exist if everyone focuses on his or her individual accountability, right? And that's all the team basics defines for real team. Okay. Okay, we are still referring to a study by Katzenberg and Smith. Based on their in-depth study of several teams, they provide several common sense findings. Okay, so the first one is teams tend to flourish on a demanding performance challenge. Okay, it is about a clear performance goal is more important to team success than team building exercises, specialized initiatives, or seeking teams members with ideal profiles. Okay. So the next one is the team basics are often overlooked. Okay, the weakest of all groups is the pseudo team, which is not focused on a common performance goal. So if a team cannot shape a common purpose, it is doomed to achieve mediocre results. All right, and we cannot just tell a group of individuals to build a team. Okay. So the third one is most organizations prefer individual accountability to team accountability. Okay, most job descriptions, compensation plans, and career path emphasize individual accomplishments, right? Therefore, tend to make people uncomfortable trusting their careers to outcomes dependent on the performance of others, right? Okay, the study also provide several uncommon sense findings. All right, the first one is strong performance goals tend to spawn more real teams. Okay, it is about a project team cannot become a real team just because we call them a team or require them to participate in team building activities or exercises. So the findings suggest that real teams tend to thrive as a result of clearly defined performance-based goals. All right. Okay, the second one is high performance teams are rare. Okay, these are real teams that outperform all other teams and even the expectations given. Okay, this special type of team requires an extremely high level of commitment to other teams members and cannot be managed. Right. The third one is real teams provide the basis of performance. Okay, real teams combine the skills, experiences, and judgments of the team members, okay, to create a synergy that cannot be achieved through the summation of individual performance. Okay, so teams are also the best way to create a shared vision and sense of direction throughout the organization. Right, the fourth one is teams naturally integrate performance and learning. Okay, by opening communication and trust, the members of a team are more apt to share their ideas and skill so that they may learn from one another. Okay. Okay, now multicultural projects. Okay, a common type of multicultural project would be an international one. Okay, although an international project may be considered a multicultural project, many domestic projects are becoming multicultural as organizations attempt to diversify their workforce. All right. Okay, even though ethics is an important component of leadership, the ability to lead and manage a multicultural team is becoming an important skill for successful project leaders. Okay. Okay, now the challenge of international projects. Okay, basically international projects are more complex because geographical, cultural, and social differences must be taken into account. All right, uh, these are the complexity that we must consider. The first one is a number of locations. Okay, which referring to a project located in different countries, cities, or region that have a different time zone, right? Currency exchange. When currencies are subject to fluctuations in exchange rate and inflation, right? Regulations and laws, because every country has its own regulations and laws. Political instability. Okay, a politically unstable country can endanger the safety and welfare of the project team. Okay, attitude towards work and time is regarding the different cultures can have different attitudes toward work and time, right? Religion, for example, Islamic countries, the weekend is on Thursday and Friday, while in other countries, the weekend is on Saturday and Sunday. Okay, the language, because not everyone can speak English fluently, and words can have different meanings, right? The last one is food. For example, cuisine that may seem strange may be disgusting to someone from somewhere else. All right. Okay. This is our last topic: understanding and managing diversity. Culture is a set of social lessons of behaviors that we learn over time, right? And diversity is defined as differences in culture as well as nationality, ethnicity, religion, gender, or generation. So, this diversity will provides a tool to better understand individual differences through four different dimensions that represent an individual. All right. So the first dimension, this one represent a person's personality. Okay. The second dimension represent individual characteristics that are often visible to others. Okay, for example, age, race, gender. Okay, so the third dimension is external dimension, includes a set of social characteristics such as education, marital status, okay, economic status, and religion that tend to shape our beliefs and behaviors. Okay, the last one is the fourth dimension, represent several organizational aspects that also help to shape our identity. Okay, this includes such factors as seniority, formal position within the organization, and the physical location where we work. All right. So the value of understanding and thinking about team diversity is that it can remind us that even though some people may appear to look like us, they may represent a different culture even within our own country origin. Okay, so we can begin to understand how each dimension of the diversity will influence attitudes, motivations, and behaviors, as well as social and business customs. Right? And we can then not only see how people are different, but also how we might be similar. All right? So, with that, I think we end our chapter 10, right? That's all. See you in the next video. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera. Thank you.